Hey there everybody, welcome back to the vlog. It is Wednesday, June the 8th, and it is an absolutely beautiful, beautiful day here in the mountains. Absolutely loving it. The sky is blue, there are some clouds, but it's mostly clear, and it's gonna be a great day. Currently it is 64 degrees, and I am on my way to meet up with our kids ministry folks for what we call, or what we are calling, a day at the zoo. And so we are heading down to a local private zoo here in our area where we will spend the day, and I'm looking forward to the day being a couple hours. We're not going to spend the entire day. But I wanted to get on, and I wanted to continue our conversation that we had yesterday. Unfortunately, as I was editing some of the footage from yesterday, it looks like the camera shut off and I lost some of our conversation. And so I tried to splice everything together to make it look like it made sense. But if you pay attention to yesterday's vlog, there's definitely a place where I am talking about one thing, and then in the next second I am sitting at my desk wrapping things up. And that is because the video went down and I lost everything that I was saying in that moment. But I had intended on coming back and talking about this for the next couple days. And so let me jump right back into what we were talking about. So yesterday, if you remember correctly, I was just sharing how I felt like, you know, my job was my calling, that I was created to do what I do, to be a pastor to students. And I was sharing how much I love that job. I love doing what I do. I really, truly do. And we had shared yesterday that we were going to have our first student activity of the summer, which we did last night, and it was amazing. And I was just looking forward to, you know, being with students, being with my leaders, getting everybody together again, because we had taken a month off so that I could take care of Amy as she had her surgery. And so last night happened. It was awesome. We were a little concerned about the weather. Fortunately, we got everything in before the storm hit, which was awesome because it rained, and it rained pretty hard in certain areas. But we just had a great time, and there was no agenda. Like, it was just simply meant to be a chance for us to get together after a long break, reconnect with everybody, play some backyard games, have some fun, eat some food, and just look forward to the things that we're doing this summer. And that's what it was, and it was great. We had a great attendance, considering we hadn't met for over a month. We normally meet in the church. This time we met in a home that was about 20 to 40 minutes, depending on where you were, from where the church is. And students still came down. It was awesome. So it was really good. But I left you guys yesterday with the question of, you know, do you love your job? And if you do, what about your job do you love? And if you don't love your job, what would be your dream job? Those are the questions I kind of left you guys with. But some of the video that got clipped out was me just sharing how I believe that God shapes us for our work. He gifts us. He gives us talents. He gives us abilities. He gives us passion for the things that He has for us to do. And I was sharing how I went from high school into seminary, and then from seminary, you know, we got married, we moved, jumped into full-time ministry, and just through all of those things, I've always believed that God had called me into ministry, that the gifts I have, the talents I have, the passion that I have, all was given to me for the purpose of doing what I do. And so I wanted to come back today and talk about that a little bit more, because ironically, at our staff meeting yesterday, we were talking about the spiritual versus non-spiritual, or the secular versus religion, or sacred, secular, sacred, religious, non-religious. And we were talking specifically, like, how do we cross that bridge of bringing our spiritual into our non-spiritual, or the sacred into the non-sacred. And so I know I've had this conversation with a number of folks over the years, where it's, oh, it's easy for you to be a Christian and it's easy for you to talk about your faith when you work for a church because that's expected. And partly it is. And the question is, how then do we live out our faith, our sacred, in the secular? And I think sometimes, because it's such a hard thing, we kind of separate the two. And so you kind of keep your sacred in your sacred box, and then your secular in your secular box. And I don't believe that's ever what God intended. I don't believe that as Christians, as believers, that we are to compartmentalize our faith and how we live. There is no, I go to church on Sundays, and so on Sundays you get the Christian me, but on Monday through Saturday it's secular, and you're going to get, a less spiritual side of me or whatever. And I just don't think that's the way the Bible presents it. I don't believe that's the way God intended it. And so the question to kind of, talk through is, what does it look like to bring the sacred into the secular? Can you work a secular job and still keep your faith? Can you still live by your faith? Can you still live out your faith? And I want to be careful here, because I have made a career, or have had a career, working in full-time ministry, but I've also had seasons where I worked in the secular. So before we went into full-time ministry, I was in emergency medicine. I was an EMT. I was on an ambulance. I worked in a hospital in Philadelphia for a number of years. I did critical transport. I was a critical care tech on a ICU floor. So that was kind of like, for me, that was secular. But even in our seasons of ministry, like when we went in church plant, because we were church planners, I had to have a secular job to help compensate and provide for the family. And I was a manager at a McDonald's, and then I worked for a local pipeline company. And in all of those things, it was very secular. It wasn't what I was used to working at the church. And so it really forced me to consider, what does it look like to bring your sacred into your secular? And so I want to talk more about this, but I want to keep this video to like 10 minutes, maybe 11, 12 minutes max, and I think we might already be there. So here's the question I have for you today. What does it look like for you to live out the sacred in your secular? What does it look like to maintain or have or live out your faith in a regular everyday job? Not a ministry job, but just, life. What does it look like for you to do that? I'd really like to hear some of your thoughts on that, so leave some comments below. And I want to come back tomorrow, talk a little bit more about this, and hopefully you guys leave some comments that we can then talk about. So super important, leave comments for this one, because this one's really an interesting topic for me, and I'd love to hear your thoughts. What does it look like to bring the sacred into the secular, and how do we live that out in our lives? Okay, so that's the question. Leave it in the comments, and as always, everybody, thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you next time right here on the vlog. Bye.